Hey, back in the saddle in our home studio. Nicole Lee, are you ready
Yes, I am. Can you hear
for
me?
the return of Daily Tech News Show? Yes, I can hear you. Good.
Awesome.
All right, here we go.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you at patreon.com/acedetect. Offer void where prohibited. Your mileage may vary. Product may contain nuts.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, March 16th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Nicole Lee, senior editor at Engadget.com, fresh off of a refreshing break. I hope it was refreshing. How are you doing, Nicole?
Very good. It was very refreshing. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. We're going to talk a little bit about Meerkat. It seems to have brought the app mojo back to South by Southwest Interactive. And Nicole, I know you had some thoughts about how it's being used, etc.
You're right. You're right. Exactly.
I told her there would be no Latin. I apologize. That was unfair. But first, let's take a look at the headlines. The Verge reports Facebook updated its community standards page Sunday night to clarify what its policies are. They haven't actually changed the policies. This is just an expanded explanation of how they come about their decisions. Among the clarifications, Facebook says they want people to use the name they go by regularly, not necessarily their legal name. There's been some confusion about that, where they've told people who are DJs or drag queens they couldn't use their name, and then they changed their decision. They're saying, no, we don't care if you're using a legal name, we just don't want you to make up a name that's only to be used on Facebook. A few other things. Hate speech is not allowed except for satire or commentary. Nudity not allowed, but more strictly defined what they mean by that. In fact, very clinically defined, as well as making it clear that there are exceptions for artwork. There was a painting, French painting, that there was some controversy over. They're saying that's okay.
Yeah, it's. I think even people within Facebook are disagreeing about the different policies that Facebook employs. So it's very interesting to see how they're parsing it and making things as fair as possible. But being Facebook, like they need to keep things sort of as good for everybody in the community as possible, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm glad you said that, because as I was reading these, it felt like Facebook was speaking to itself as much as to the public. Like, listen, moderators, these are the things that are okay. These are the things that are not. It took them about a year to come up with these revised clarifications, too.
Yeah, we'll see if they'll. I'm guessing there'll be more changes in the future, too.
It's always the problem once you start setting rules, especially rules on speech.
Yeah.
Where you have to keep refining it and go, well, that's okay, but that's
okay.
not.
That's
and
not.
Then it changes over time. Things that used to be okay aren't anymore, and things that were not okay.
Changing more is and everything.
Yeah. TechCrunch notes numbers of government requests for Facebook were also released. Requests decreased in the United States and the United Kingdom, while increasing in India, Turkey, and Russia. The U.S. still requests the most amount of data from Facebook, while India is now number 2. Total number of worldwide government requests rose from 34,946 in the first half of the year to 35,051 between July and December 2014. I don't know what to make of these sorts of reports now. Now that I have an idea of, like, okay, there's 35,000 requests worldwide. That's not a lot compared to the number of people who use Facebook, but the fact that they're rising means that more governments are interested in trying to finding out things about people who use Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to compare that to Google data requests and all of that as well.
Yeah. The Verge reports Microsoft launched Office 2016 Preview. Microsoft improved search, storage footprint, it doesn't take up as much space, and email delivery performance, as well as image insertion in Word and Excel. Not all the new features for Office 2016 are in the preview yet, so if you don't see one you're anticipating, don't give up hope. Microsoft also launched a test version of Skype for Business with the ability to integrate with Office apps. The final version of Skype for Business will be available in April, with the final Office 2016 coming later this year. If you're interested in trying out the preview, sign up at Microsoft Connect. That website is connect.microsoft.com. Are you an Office enthusiast? I kind of am still. Like going back.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I just haven't been using Office consistently ever since Google Docs and all of that. The other alternatives have come up, but I still use Skype a lot. So
Yeah, I use. Well, will you use Skype for business? This is the replacement.
no, but yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Well, I should explain the Microsoft Office enthusiasm. I prefer to use LibreOffice when I can, and I use Google Docs a lot. But there's still something about me that's like, ooh, new Office. I wonder what they did with it. Like, I'm just curious. It's almost like I'm curious to see the movie rather than as a user. Like, what are going to be the controversies? What are the improvements?
It's
what are the cool
much
things?
improved though.
What are the
Like from what I've
things?
seen, it is leaps and bounds better than what was there before. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Reuters reports BlackBerry will launch a high-security tablet aimed at governments and enterprise in cooperation with IBM and Samsung. The so-called SECU tablet, SECU tablet, is based on the Galaxy Tab S 10.5 and works with BlackBerry's SECU Suite. They just acquired that company that makes SECU Suite. That gives you voice and data encryption. The device is undergoing certification by the German Federal Office for Information Security for a secure rating. That's a pretty stringent test, so they're hoping, hey, if we can get this security rating with this government entity, other governments will hopefully want to accept it as well. According to the Wall Street Journal, the tablet will be available this summer at a affordable $2,380.
Well, affordable depending on what the other options are, right? As far as government tablets are concerned, right?
It is an enterprise/government budget level price for sure.
Right. It's not really for you and me to purchase.
Definitely.
And use. So.
That's a good point. TechCrunch notes Elon Musk tweeted something yesterday. I'm almost tempted to stop right there. Elon Musk tweeted something again. This time it was that a Tesla press conference will take place Thursday at 9 a.m. And here's what he wrote. End range anxiety. That would be like, oh, am I going to be able to make it until the next charging port before I run out of electricity? Going to end range anxiety with over-the-air software update. He said it affects the entire Model S fleet.
Very excited about this. We'll see what happens, but that's sort of the promise of Tesla. They can do things via over-the-air software updates, and I think it's very interesting to see what they'll do.
Yeah, it's almost as interesting to me that they're doing an over-the-air software update that they think will have a significant change in how the car works than exactly what it will do. Even if it's a small range improvement and doesn't actually end range anxiety, it's still pretty interesting.
Yeah.
A new report by the Pew Research Center found that 30% of U.S. citizens surveyed have taken steps to shield or hide their information from the U.S. government. You can see which way the wind blows at a particular organization by reading that headline and seeing whether they say only 30% or as many as 30%. TechCrunch notes that 52% of those surveyed said they were very concerned or somewhat concerned by government surveillance programs, but 46% said they were not very concerned or not at all concerned. Survey found that 87% of adults have heard at least something about government surveillance programs, and 57% said it is unacceptable for the government to monitor the communications of U.S. citizens. But a majority said spying elsewhere is okay. Just don't spy on me. Most often, people change privacy settings on social media, avoiding apps entirely and using social media less, which could be less about government interference and more about drunk selfies. It's hard to tease that.
Yeah, I found the number actually quite surprisingly high because I didn't know that people would be. I guess I'm very pessimistic on the American public in general, and I'm like, oh, really? That many people are that interested in their own security? But I guess so.
Yeah, I think it's very telling about your own personality,
Yes,
how you look at this, right? I saw so many different headlines with so many different takes on this exact same number. I looked at 30% and said, well, that's a start. Like I felt like here we go. We're getting there. This is bigger than it used to be. It's not as big as it should be.
I thought it was. I thought it's bigger than I thought it would be. To be honest. Yeah,
and I know a lot of people feel like this is like it should definitely have been higher too.
Oh, of course.
Given all of the Snowden revelations, but it will be another fact point to bring up when you're talking about whether people are caring enough about their privacy and government surveillance.
Yep.
You can wield it as you will. And Gadget reports on the launch of free public internet service at a Havana Cultural Center in Cuba. Popular Cuban artist Cho got approval from the state telecom Etexa to open up his Wi-Fi router at the cultural center. He pays for the connection. It's 2 megabits per second, not terribly fast, but it doesn't cost a centavo for anybody out there who wants to use it, as long as you're within range and have a device.
That sounds exciting. I mean, I hope to visit Cuba someday. So
Yeah, if they get more, I mean, you as a visitor to Cuba would probably get internet in your hotel, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
That's how you would do it. But this is a step in the right direction. Variety reports HBO Now will be offered by Cablevision to its broadband-only subscribers. In other words, if you get your internet from Cablevision, you won't also have to sign up for TV if you want to get HBO. Cablevision said it will provide pricing and other details about how HBO Now will be available to broadband subscribers in the next coming weeks. But I'm interested if this launches alongside Apple TV, because that has been one of the theories I've seen, is that HBO gave the exclusive to Apple for digital to try to limit the resistance of the actual cable companies to getting on board with them.
We'll see. I mean, HBO is. I feel like it's almost there. Like they've almost cracked it. But it's definitely one less reason to sign up for cable, in my opinion.
Yeah. For sure, and this will, at least for people who have Cablevision internet, so, and those people who didn't want Apple TV, didn't want to have to sign up through Apple, at least now they've got another option. So
Cablevision is like the northwest, northeast, right?
Yeah, it's in New York. It's in. It used to be in Illinois. My cable provider growing up was Cablevision. Okay. I'm not sure if it still is anymore. They changed those things around so much, but yeah. I do think it's interesting that HBO is winning this argument with at least one cable company. The argument has been the cable company saying, we give you all this free marketing. Why would we help you cut us out of the picture? And HBO's argument is, you're going to get cut out of the picture anyway. If you want to stay making any money off of this sort of thing, you should help us with this. Cablevision seemed to buy that.
HBO has the clout. Definitely. Yeah.
rpattonny is one of the people who posted something on our subreddit at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You could be that too. We look at this every day, and it helps us figure out what to put in the show. And the more people who use the subreddit, the more helpful it is for me. So get on over there, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. rpattonny posted the Torrent Freak article highlighting another of the many nuggets found in the recent U.S. Open Internet order that says, nothing in this part prohibits reasonable efforts by a provider of broadband internet access service to address copyright infringement or other unlawful activity. Now, this isn't part of the actual regulation. This is one of the comments on the regulation about blocking. So it is apparently okay for the ISP to determine what is illegal and what is infringement. The way it's written, it doesn't seem like the FCC would require a court order before that kind of blocking happened. If somebody blocked and said, hey, I had good reason to believe this was infringement, they'd get a pass.
Sounds good to me.
starfuryzeta sent us this story from The Verge reporting on Yahoo's new password-free email login. The new approach, dubbed on-demand passwords, sends Yahoo email users a time-sensitive code through an app or cell phone text message. No more need to remember a password. Every time you log in, you'll be sent a new code. Just don't lose the phone tied to the account, or else somebody else will be able to get into your account. The new password feature is available now and can be enabled from the security section of your account information page.
That sounds pretty interesting. I was wondering if they'll work with two-factor as well.
Well, and that's the thing. They have two-factor authentication right now, so this is basically saying we can do one-factor authentication if that password part of two-factor authentication is too much for you. I am curious, because I was not able to dig into it, if there is another aspect to this, because there are some one-factor looking authentication systems out there that can provide essentially a second kind of factor along with this, some kind of token.
Okay, yeah,
they require like a YubiKey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what Yahoo's got going on here, or if they're saying, well, it's better to do this than have people create a really easy to remember password, which is also only one factor, right?
Yep. True.
Captain Kipper found the Yahoo Tumblr post announcing the release of source code for Yahoo's new end-to-end encryption browser extension for Yahoo Mail. The encryption interface is described as intuitive by Yahoo. However, it will have to be activated each time you want it, and info like recipient, subject line, and time will remain unencrypted. Yahoo used the Google end-to-end extension in the project, released the source code to GitHub, and they do plan to have end-to-end encryption available for all users by the end of the year. I like this idea, especially using the Google one. That means if you theoretically, hopefully it all works out, that when you send a Gmail encrypted to a Yahoo user, they would still be encrypted end-to-end because they're all using the same system.
Yeah, I think that's end-to-end encryption, especially these like encryption intensive days. I think it's really important to have.
Yeah. eziwireless sent us this Engadget report on Windows 10's unique update feature. The Verge noticed that a leaked version of Windows 10 lets you grab updates from other PCs, whether they are local or online. This peer-to-peer network patching would accelerate the updating process as well as limiting bandwidth usage on metered internet connections. If you have several Windows machines at home, only one of them would have to get it from the internet, and then it could share it with everybody else. It also means that Microsoft servers take less of a hit. Makes it hopefully faster as the patches deploy. Also means we now have possibly one more thing to add to legal uses of peer-to-peer in addition to Linux ISOs and World of Warcraft updates.
That is pretty funny.
And you know what? I'm sure there's like dozens of people, probably hundreds of people in the audience right now saying, well, there's also this example of illegal use of peer-to-peer. Send them in. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. The more legal uses we can get out into the public conscience, the better. Finally, Philman132 submitted the Boing Boing BBS post and thread about GNU Terry Pratchett. When implemented on Apache or Nginx web servers, they transmit a special XClax overhead header reading called GNU Terry Pratchett. Now, if you don't know why that's happening, Pratchett's book Going Postal described a system called the Clax, where workers who died in the line of duty could have their name transmitted in the book's system, an internet-like telegraph system's signaling layer, because a man is not dead while his name is still spoken.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool. I love that this is happening. I also love that in the BBS thread on Boing Boing, they devolved into an argument about the best way to really replicate what happened in the book.
Of course they did.
Which is fantastic. So there you go. And that is a look at the headlines. All right. Twitter shut off Meerkat access to the social graph with 2 hours' notice on Friday night, right as founder Ben Rubin was getting ready to make South by Southwest the big Meerkat party, which it still ended up being. Nicole, I think it's the first time in a couple of years that we have had a clear and very popular app get the notice at South by Southwest that like Twitter and Foursquare got back in the day.
Yeah, I was just thinking of like all the past breakout hits at South by Southwest. Twitter was definitely one of them. I think Foursquare was as well. I think the other one was called Highlight. It lasted for a little bit, but didn't really last too long as far as outside of South by Southwest anyway. But Meerkat seems to be still going strong. I mean, I see it all the time on my Twitter feed. So
what this shut off does? Okay, first of all, if you don't know what Meerkat does at all,
right?
Meerkat is an app.
Yes.
But you log into it with Twitter, and then when you go live, it posts a link to your Twitter feed so that people can actually see what you're doing right then. Once you stop that live feed, though, it goes away, right?
Yeah, it goes away, and it's a sort of ephemeral in that sense. It's like a live stream for that particular moment, and that's it.
Now what? Yeah. What happened with Twitter was they bought a company in January called Periscope, and I guess that deal finalized, or they were ready to go public.
Yeah, like a few days ago.
Yeah, so 2 days ago, they're like, we have a competitor. Periscope is similar to Meerkat. The only difference is they allow you to save your feeds and make them available in the cloud. Meerkat allows you to save what you recorded locally if you want, but not in the cloud right away. So it's less of that ephemeral thing. Mm-hmm. But people seem to love the Meerkat. So when Twitter cut off the social graph access, all that did was when you sign up for Meerkat now, it can't automatically replicate your friends and your followers from Twitter. But otherwise, really, Nicole, do you think that's big a deal? Because to me, the big value of Meerkat is press a button, send a link to Twitter, which it still does.
Right, and I think that's the thing that I think people sort of lost sight of. It's the fact that when you when you post the link to when you broadcast live on Meerkat, it sends that link to your Twitter feed anyway. So people people who are already following you on Twitter will see that message anyway. But the thing that makes it less sticky, I guess you could say, is that it stops sending out that push notification from the app itself. Because before, within Meerkat, it will send you like, oh, it's detected as broadcasting live now from Meerkat, and it would send a push notification. And now, if you're not following that person, you won't get that push notification.
And the people who have already signed up to Meerkat and had their followers replicated won't lose them. So it'll still do the push notification for the 120,000 users that it has now, or I guess maybe the 100,000 users before that function got turned off. It's a matter of going forward, will Meerkat be able to find an easy way to replicate that social graph? They say they're working on it. They had it in the plans anyway. They just didn't think they would get shut out of the graph this quickly.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have something. Maybe it'll be on phone number, like Snapchat.
Right. But the thing that was interesting for me is that they rely so much on Twitter for their social graph, so much so that right now, if I want to add somebody on Meerkat, I can't. Like, I can't search for a user or anything. The only way to add somebody was from that social graph when I first initially joined Meerkat.
Is that right? I thought you could still do it manually somehow.
I mean, it's not immediately obvious anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You need it, even if Nicole Lee can't find it, it's too well hidden. Is what you're saying. Like, you need to make that easy to find, and I think they will. I think that's what Ben Rubin is saying, and he was very respectful of Twitter. He's like, hey, it's their house. We knew they weren't going to let us play in this forever. We would have liked more than 2 hours notice. We thought we'd get like maybe a week's notice, but okay. Also, it was funny that Twitter shut it off, saying we were shutting off access consistent with our internal policy, which is they don't allow apps to use the knowledge graph if they're doing a competing service. Meerkat didn't know that Twitter had acquired Periscope, so there was no way they would have known that there was a competing service in there.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's very strange for me, but it's also very sort of take a step back a little bit. It's very interesting to see like this sort of live streaming space being so hotly coveted, right? I mean, Twitter has Vine. Twitter has like the 30-second video thing, but they're not live, right? The fact that it's live makes it, I guess, more interesting and more today-ish, more current, I guess. I don't know. I think it's a really interesting, weird, new way of looking at mobile streaming.
Well, and you know this as well as I do, that this is not new, right?
Right.
Quick did exactly this.
You're
if you remember,
exactly.
QIK, and there have been other services that have done this, but I guess those services were almost too early because not enough people had the combination of pervasive phones and good enough bandwidth that they could do this. I'm going to go ahead and do a Meerkat stream so people can see. Do it, Tom. Yeah, I'm going to stream us. I'm going to Meerkat stream us talking about Meerkat for a little bit here. But so what do you think has caused it to finally take off? And I think part of it is the fact that I could do it that easily, right? I just go boom, and then I'm live streaming. But
you're live
what do you
right
think
now. I just got a notification saying like you're live.
Notification? That's hilarious.
You're live.
Yeah. Don't watch me, or we'll collapse the internet.
Right. You're live now. I think it's Twitter. The fact that I want to say Quick was sort of. I mean, it was during Twitter, but it didn't really take advantage of the quote unquote social graph in the sense that it's on Twitter, it gets your followers right away. You already have that audience already, right? Whereas with Quick, I feel like there was this whole like trying to get the audience in the first place, and now there's like a built-in audience already. I think. Yeah,
the built-in audience helps, and it's a pervasive audience. I would add that to. I think that's right. We add that to the pervasiveness of bandwidth and phones, and I think the ephemeral nature was a good choice for Meerkat. And actually, I think Periscope will benefit from that because people who try Meerkat because they're like, well, it goes away. I'm not going to worry about it. Will suddenly say, oh, well, maybe I'll try Periscope because some of these I would like to make available later without having to re-upload them myself.
Right.
And I want to bring up a question that our producer, Jenny Josephs, had asked in the pre-show, which is, will this make – I'm going to phrase it differently than Jenny did. Will this make people behave better? Like, is this the thing that finally makes us go, well, shoot, that person could be meerkatting right now. I better not act like a jerk.
Well, there were already opportunities to capture that rude behavior before, though, with your camera, your phone's camera. But I guess now it's like more immediate than before. I guess it's more in the moment. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think so, personally.
It's not as bad as Google Google Glass,
Right?
Because or is it?
Well,
More people have phones, and it's easier.
Because, yes.
I could just be like, oh yeah, I'm just looking at my phone. I'm not meerkatting at all right now.
I'm not meerkatting at all.
And you might
right
not
now.
ever know.
You might not ever know. No, I think people. I don't think it will reduce behavior. People will be rude regardless, right?
No, I think you're right. I think it will. I think people are so used to the idea that there could be a camera on them at any time.
Yeah.
That
there are all these like hidden camera shows on TV, like Undercover Boss or whatever.
Yeah.
All these.
Best part is we're having a great conversation. Sam Bassman says, "No, people are people, Tom," and then someone says, "Yeah, I agree with him." So it's suddenly we've got another chat room going on Twitter based on this. The bad thing for me is that I actually only have your audio in my ear, so when you talk on the Meerkat stream, I can't actually.
It's funny. Last week I was in Barcelona. I was in the Sagrada Familia, and I meerkatted. I did like a live meerkat.
Oh yeah, I watched a little of that actually.
While I was in the Sagrada Familia, I was this is the good meerkat right here. To like be in a beautiful place and like sort of live stream that. I feel like that's more interesting.
And I think that's one of the cool things that's spinning off from this. Like meerkatstreams.com is actually taking those kinds of streams and aggregating them, so you could probably find somebody who's doing something interesting like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Much more interesting than this.
We'll see if Meerkat has staying power that Twitter had and Foursquare had. If anything, I think it will make the whole mobile live streaming thing more publicized, and maybe Periscope will sort of jump on that, right? And maybe Periscope will sort of leap and because of that.
But and that's another thing that Ben Rubin said, which was we don't mind Twitter doing Periscope. We think there's space for a lot of people to do this kind of thing in more ways.
It's so new, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's Meerkat Roulette now too, meerkatroulette.com, where you just skip. I know it brings up chat roulette, which makes you think you're going to see something worse than you probably will, but it lets you skip through all the live Meerkat streams. Now, this is all the kind of thing when this sort of thing launches that you get. You get people really excited. It hits the high at South by Southwest. All the spin-off Meerkat Roulette type sites happen. How long will this go? Will it become something where people say, oh, yeah, live streaming from my phone is now really easy and people do it all the time? Or will it just kind of fade away into, well, that was fun, now let's move on to the next thing?
I don't know if Meerkat itself will be the chosen live streaming thing of choice, but I think live streaming from mobile in general is very interesting, and I think it's much more possible now because we all have phones, 4G is everywhere, and I think it's much more of a possibility now. And I think that as a concept will be the thing that will sort of last Meerkat or not, Periscope or not.
All right, I'm gonna stop the Meerkat stream now.
Good.
It's distracting me. I can't. Thanks for everybody for watching the Meerkat stream. Wow, 98 people watched that stream.
Wow, that was impressive.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I agree with you, Nicole. I think whether it's Meerkat, like we very well may see Meerkat be the thing that fades away, like a la Friendster, right?
Right.
Where there's something else down the road that everyone ends up using, and we go, oh, remember when everybody used Meerkat at first? Or Meerkat could be the Twitter of this thing and run with it. That remains to be seen, and there's too many factors to predict that sort of thing. But I kind of agree. I think the idea of like, hey, press a button, live stream has finally arrived. People are used to doing that in so many other ways, like Snapchat, etc.
Yep.
That a live stream that uses Twitter, if nothing else, just to broadcast that the feed
Snapchat
is
might integrate this into their next update, Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be. I would be surprised if that doesn't happen at some point. Yeah. All right, our pick of the day comes from Christopher Ragsdale, who was listening to our discussion on episode 2448 and was reminded of an interview he had heard recently with author Douglas Rushkoff about the book Present Shock. And Christopher says, I'm not trying to sell books here, but I think you and Jenny might be interested in the info in this book. And essentially, it's a book that tries to take Alvin Toffler's Future Shock, the premise of which, oversimplifying, was the future is coming at us too fast, and we're having a hard time dealing with the fact that things are changing so fast, and says we're living now in Alvin Toffler's Future Shock. It's now present shock. Like, we are living in a hyper present where we sort of forget about the future because things in the present are changing so fast. You always hear people say, hey, we're living in the future, that we're starting to lose some of our long-term thinking. Interesting book. You can check it out, rushkoff.com, and we'll have a link in the show notes. Thank you, Christopher, for that pick. Send your picks to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. And finally, Sam wants to represent for those unfortunate souls who are still on a connection with a bandwidth cap, and there are many. We sometimes forget about that, and Sam says, every time you all talk about how bandwidth caps on home internet access is a thing of the past, my left eye twitches in a peculiar manner. You see, I have Comcast as my ISP, the highest tier home service available in my area of Charleston, South Carolina. We have a 300 gigabyte per month cap. Did I mention that this cap only went into place about a year and a half ago? Surprisingly, or not very long after the cap went into place, Comcast had the infamous shareholder call in which the CEO stated flatly that Comcast has no plans to implement bandwidth caps. So, yeah. See, Comcast has not added any since then, but poor Sam is among the people living with a bandwidth cap, and he's not the only one.
Yeah, I mean, I think San Francisco has a bandwidth cap too. Actually, I'm not really sure. I have to check on that.
Last I knew, and I had a Comcast business account 2.5 years ago when I lived there, they had taken away the bandwidth cap, had put up a policy statement saying we're thinking of bringing a cap back. It would work like this, and then I don't think they ever implemented it. But
yeah,
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I should check.
Yeah,
I agree with Sam. It's just the whole bandwidth cap idea is just terrible. So
I do think that bandwidth caps will either, where they exist, continue to expand because they don't want to stop people from feeling like the internet that they buy is useful. Because that is a problem. Some people say, why would I pay for broadband? I don't get the use. And so you have to have the cap be big enough that it's useful. And I think most people don't want to deal with it. And I think the ISPs realize that. But that does not change the fact that poor Sam is among the people who got stuck in an area with a bandwidth cap, and it still hasn't gone away. So don't forget the Sams of the world, all right?
Never.
That's all we're saying. Roger Chang, who's helping out with the show, says Comcast cap is currently suspended in San Francisco. So
well, thank you.
You're safe.
Now I know.
And that is the show. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and thank you, Nicole Lee, for joining us. You can follow Nicole on Twitter. As I always point out, and probably you're so tired of it, Nicole, you were the first person I ever followed on Twitter, so everyone else should join me. Twitter.com/Nicole, Nicole. And, of course, read her stuff at Engadget.com. Now, I know you've been on a break, so you don't have anything up, but is there stuff coming up?
You can check out stuff that I wrote 2 weeks ago. That would be great.
That's still there. It's the internet
it's
after
still
all.
there. I had hands-on of the HTC Vive. You should check that out. I had hands-on of the other Samsung, the Gear VR. I tried both of those VR things out, so definitely check those out.
All right, and then keep an eye out for the next thing, Engadget.com. Thanks to our patrons, 4,876 folks who are making the show happen. I got to meet some of the bosses at the South by Southwest Diamond Club event on Saturday. It was great to see folks like Time Jumper and Dark Redeemer and all kinds of folks. If I start naming any of them, I'm going to forget somebody and then they'll feel bad. So just know, if I met you and I talked to you, it was awesome. It was really a fantastic time, and I wish I'd had more time to talk to everybody. Thanks to the patrons who make this show possible, who couldn't come, too. You guys are just as important. Patreon.com/AceDetect. We're getting there, $14,700, so we're getting closer and closer to that $16,000 we need to get Scott Johnson and Veronica Belmont on board. And whether you can support that way or another way, dailytechnewsshow.com/support is the place to go to figure it out. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Oh, wait. I forgot to put it in the lineup, but we have a special report from Jenny Josephson, not just on her experiences with the Android tablet, but also with the Samsung Gear VR. That's coming up after the show. Stick around for that. Okay, email address is still feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY, and listen to the show live at tunein.alphageekradio.com at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Patrick Beja.
This podcast is part of the Frogpants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That's it.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this sandwich.
I also want that to happen.
The Comcast cap is, at least on the page for my account, is 240 gigabytes. But there's a little note that says enforcement has been temporarily suspended. It's been like that for the past 5 years.
Suspended part. I see.
I remember reading that when they posted that when I was waiting to go to a San Francisco Giants game. I read it on my phone at a coffee shop.
How long ago was this?
5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
They don't ever want to say that it's gone. They just say it's been suspended.
And TVZ Gone in the chat room says Cox has a stated data limit, but they don't actually charge if you go over. They just send you a mean email.
Oh. Angry email.
You go over that cap, young man.
So I have the show notes, Jenny.
Yeah.
Do I just copy and paste it, or?
You wait for Tom to make the post, and then when he says the magic sad words that everybody gets all upset about, which is, I'm out of the post, that's your cue to go into the post and put the show notes in.
Got
I'm
it.
not out of the post yet, though, just so you know.
Uno momento. I gotta go check on the screaming baby.
Yeah.
I'm glad I remembered to point out
yeah.
the Android Journal.
The random stroll that led to my first experience with a virtual reality device. It was really awesome. Got out in the real world, and I found the virtual world.
But yeah, if you've ever had the chance to try on the HTC Vive or the Valve VR headset, I highly, 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 highly recommend doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pre-sold.
Awesome.
Like, I've been pre-sold on VR since the moment I understood that it was a coming reality. And this was really like, okay, now I'm going to confirm how much I want this to be real. By putting it on.
The reason why the Vive and Valve's solution is so much more compelling is because it's a room scale environment. So you walk around a room and you handle things with these controllers. So you get to interact with things in real time with like actual like hand-based controllers, and you walk around a room. That's VR for me.
That's what I needed without giving away. That's what I needed from the Gear VR was. It was a basic. First of all, I don't even know what their future technology is, but like this basic thing where they were promoting the movie Insurgent, they did not put the full pop in because actually the people they were going after really more cared about Insurgent, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
The fact that the hands, that's not their fault. It's just the hand. When I looked down at my hands and the hands didn't move when my real hands were moving, I was like, well, all right, I accept this limitation for this particular thing, but I wouldn't accept it for.
And I think
else.
I would say using the smartphone in your VR, like that's sort of the entryway, like the gateway drug of VR, and then from there there's the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive and all that. But yeah,
well, I'm hooked. Cool. I knew I was ready before I even tried it. Now I'm really hooked.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you, Nicole. Great having you back.
Yeah. Bye.
Come back soon.
Next time when I'm actually not on vacation, you can invite me. I'll probably have more to talk about.
Yeah, and if you ever got a bigger, longer piece that you want to plug too, let us know. We always love doing that.
Sure. All right.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so I should go in? Oh, wait, sorry. Hello.
Hey, Roger.
You're still in the post, right?
Still working on the post.
Okay, no worries.
Hold on. I'm holding slow, Roger.
No, is it a cut and paste thing, Jenny, or do I need to move some things and add? I can't hear anything from you.
Is that better?
That works. That works.
Gravity. Every once in a while, gravity takes a hold of the blue icicle and makes talking go away.
Is it gravity or is it a dog that pulls on the cord?
No dog today. But I usually I cut and paste it not from the visual tab, but from the HTML or the CSS, whatever the text tab is, because then it retains all the formatting as opposed to the painful way I used to do it, which was it didn't retain the formatting.
Okay, so and then I paste it in.
Just at the bottom where it says show notes.
Show notes.
Show notes. $1 million. Wait, I'm not over this 3 business.
What?
I'm not over this Rocky 3 business, Roger.
What is there to be over? You're wrong.
Tell me why you feel like this. Tell me why you think this movie is a bad movie. I understand it's an 80s movie. I understand
the original Rocky was great because
right?
it's a very just like the First Blood. Like it's an entirely different kind of movie than the one that followed it, which is
title, by the way.
What?
Oh, a title? How about Rocky 3 is awesome?
Yeah, great. Keep going.
Mohawks for the masses.
Pick a title. Do you need a title?
No, I picked it. I was saying I picked it. You just go.
Okay.
Go. Because people always ask, did you pick a title yet? I'm just like,
yeah.
I couldn't really pull anything redeeming out of it. Like it
Not
was
even the menace, the beautiful, alive, vibrant menace of Mr. T.
That is a visual kind of thing, but as like a movie, it was just kind of a rehash. I think 2
you
was
saw
good.
nothing in the Apollo Creed Rocky Balboa extended training montage. There's nothing
that's the
for
other
you
thing
there?
I blame the 80s for, over excessive use of montage for something that it's like it's the same issue I have with certain movies now where they do like this huge long-winded exposition in the front.
Yeah, I totally
set everything up.
Totally down with that. Like especially the extended Lord of the Rings exposition beginning is getting longer and longer as the years go by. But I feel like you have to take a movie in the context of its time. And when you first saw Rocky 3, not your now opinion of it, what was your first opinion of it the first time you saw it?
It was, for me, it was a fun movie. As a kid, that's how I rated everything, right? I liked American Ninja because it was a fun movie. It was, in hindsight, it's a crappy movie. All the American Ninja movies were crappy movies. All the ninja movies from the 80s were crappy movies, outside of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right.
The first one. But,
see, I look at it as having just seen it 2 nights ago. Was it last night? It was last night. We saw it last night. First time I've ever seen Rocky 3. And I looked at it as a fun movie, time capsule, in which I'm seeing so many of the things that are now... So many things were explained to me by the seeing of Rocky 3. I'll put it that way.
You mean like life lessons?
No, like, I don't know, like things my husband says every day. Things like
Rocky movies aren't a cultural touchstone for myself or any of the people I know. Like,
see, you're hanging with the wrong people.
Maybe you just I don't hang around people who watch Rocky movies.
It's part of this ongoing thing in our household to bring me up to speed on a certain type of movie I missed growing up.
Like what? What did you miss growing up that was you?
Well, any Rocky, Rambo, First Blood. I managed to see Die Hard, but anything that was going on in the 80s that was super teen boy centric, I probably missed. Unless it was Indiana Jones or Star Wars.
Wait, so like 16 Candles and Pretty in Pink?
No, that I saw. That's girl-centric. That's not boy-centric.
Oh, boy-centric. So like, you didn't see Raiders of the Lost Ark or Temple of
anything that was
violent.
Spielberg or Lucas, I saw. Anything that was more of the First Blood, Rambo, Rocky.
So Predator. You didn't see Predator.
Predator didn't see, right.
Commando?
Like all of those. Right, no Commando, anything
Rainbow
like that.
William, The Adventure Continues?
No.
That's a
see,
good movie. That's a great movie.
I know.
Incredibly racist Korean guy, but yeah.
This is all the types of movies that I never got to see. Like even Vacation, even the movie like anything where boobs were bared, even in a comedic sense, just did not filter into my life.
Airplane. You didn't watch Airplane.
Well, no, I did. That is a. I did see Airplane, but it was
Airplane
like Stripes or
Stripes was good.
Stripes or National Lampoon. I'm sorry, I've hijacked this conversation, but there's an education going on in the household about.
I'm curious what things your husband says are from Rocky III, and whether those are things Roger didn't realize were from Rocky.
Yeah. What's your prediction for the fight? My prediction? Yes, your prediction. Pain. That is said in our house a lot.
All right.
It's funny. The quotes I've often heard from Rocky are Adrian at the end of and then I must destroy you from Rocky IV.
Yeah.
When Dolph Lundgren plays Victor Drago. And
do you feel no emotion in that certain part of Rocky III where?
No, I don't.
Where Rocky loses someone incredibly important to him?
You know what? He was old, and I figured he would have been dead by the second one. It's like there's those dude moments, bro moments almost in movies that don't elicit any emotion for me because it's so ham-fisted and I don't care. I'm sure I would have shed a tear as a kid when I saw Bambi's mother get it, but it's like the guy was already old. It wasn't it wasn't like he was struck down in the prime of his life.
Yeah.
Oh no, I suffered a stroke trying to show you how to do a right cross or something. It's yeah. Alyssa Milano was in Commando. She was the daughter he had to rescue. It was great. There was one of the first movies where he was actually allowed to speak without having his voice dubbed over. Like in Zeus Goes to versus New York or Goes to New York. It had Arnold Schwarzenegger, not Zeus, Hercules, as Hercules, but the producers thought no one could understand his English, so they totally dubbed him for the entire movie. It's great. It's like the original American release of Road Warrior. They thought no one would understand Mel Gibson's accent, so they dubbed it. It's really bad too. If you watch it on the DVD or the Blu-ray edition, and you can switch the audio, it's why did they even do this? So you've seen Road Warrior, Mad Max, no?
Yes, but barely. I must have seen it. I have a memory of seeing it, but not. I don't. It's not in me presently.
Iron Eagle, there's one. Okay. If you want a true boys movie, you need to watch the original Red Dawn.
Oh,
and this line, "Avenge me, Dawn, avenge me." That is the best line in the movie ever.
I will watch that. I will put that on the list. Roger, how can you not love a movie where it says, "No one could believe the superhuman strength of Thunderlips"? It's a classic.
It's because I've seen so many cornball movies from the 70s and 80s.
Oh, man. All right. So I'm sorry. We're actually taking up Tom's time because he has to go do another show.
No, this was great. You guys were having a good conversation, and I got the show published faster than ever.
There you go.
TV's Egon has the title of the movie, Hercules Conquers New York.
Oh, my goodness.
If you ever get to see it, it's hilarious. It's really bad. But it's even funnier because Arnold Schwarzenegger's dubbed.
I don't know why I saw the Terminator movies and not any of the others. Maybe it was the time travel element.
Wolverine!
If it had time travel.
Oh, that's the other line. My wife has this whole thing. It's every dude that was alive in the 80s has watched Red Dawn. Yeah. In America, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe if you go to Canada, no one's ever seen it, but in America, if you're a true red-blooded Reagan.
Well, they had to make it their own version called Maple Dawn. Maple Brown Dawn. All right, see, that's why I wasn't talking.
It sounds like a brand of
it's something you get at Tim Hortons. I'll have the Maple Dawn.
Oh, man.
Like a breakfast.
All right, I am sadly out of the post.
So, okay, Jenny.
Out of the post music, like something really sad.
So I click into it, and then what do I do?
We'll see you later, video people.